The alien warships hung like shadows in the sky, their jagged hulls blotting out the sun. Commander Vril stared at Earth through a viewport thick with static. His species had hunted civilizations across the galaxy, but none made sense like this. Humans should have died out 1,000 times. Asteroids, floods, ice, plagues. Every extinction event in their history should have scrubbed them clean. But here they were, building towers, flying metal birds digging into Mars's soil. Vril's mandibles twitched. His analysts called it luck. He knew better. Luck didn't last 1 billion years. Earth's history was a graveyard of near misses. 250 million years ago, volcanoes in Siberia erupted for 1 million years, choking the skies. Oceans boiled, forests vanished. 96% of life died. But tiny shrew-like mammals survived, burrowing underground, eating insects, waiting for the world to heal. Then came the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. It darkened skies for years. Yet again those mammals endured, hiding in caves, evolving, growing bold. Vril's screens flickered with images. A human child in Lagos solved math problems on a cracked tablet. A submarine drilled for oil in the Mariana Trench. A Martian colony dome glowed red under a dusty sky. They don't survive, Vril muttered. They thrive. The attack began at dawn. Plasma beams ripped through cities, melting skyscrapers into rivers of molten glass. Fusion bombs detonated in atmospheres, tearing holes in continents. Vril expected panic, screams, despair. Instead, Earth's networks lit up. Calm, coordinated. Military channels buzzed with orders. Civilians vanished into underground bunkers, engineered to withstand gamma radiation. Within hours, humanity did the unthinkable. They answered. A low hum rattled the alien fleet. From geostationary orbit, 12 colossal ships descended, jagged, black, bristling with weapons that defied physics. Star destroyers. Vril's sensors overloaded trying to parse their tech. The ships weren't new. Thermal scans dated their construction to centuries prior, hidden in plain sight, buried in deserts, parked on the moon. Humans had been building them since the Cold War quietly, while the galaxy dismissed them as primitive. Now, they struck. Beams of compressed dark matter sliced through alien hulls. Drones swarmed like hornets, hacking defense grids. A destroyer's hull peeled open, releasing thousands of fighter pods. Pilots, augmented humans with neural links to AI, laughed as they dove into battle. One pilot, a woman with cybernetic eyes, dodged plasma fire and rammed her pod into an alien engine core. The explosion tore a warship in half. Vril's flagship listed sideways, engines failing. He watched a destroyer lock weapons on his command core. Why? He screamed at the glowing screen relaying Earth's transmission. No surrender demands, no boasts. Just a loop of humanity's history. Volcanoes, ice, fire, war, pandemics, and then text. You should have learned. We don't die easy. The eye blast erased his ship and his species from existence. On Earth, survivors emerged from bunkers, blinking at the sunrise. The war wasn't mentioned in textbooks for decades. Governments denied the destroyers existed. But in the shadows, Project Continuance expanded. New ships were built, generations trained. Because humanity knew something the cosmos didn't. Survival wasn't a fluke. It was a habit. A century later, a child in a Martian colony stared out at the stars. Her tablet buzzed. A notification from Earth. Alien fleet detected near Neptune. All hands to battle stations. She smiled, strapping into a fighter pod. Her ancestors had carved life from ice and ash. She'd do worse to anyone who threatened it. The sky parted again. Star destroyers surged forward. Word count, 798. Expansion to 1,000 words. Continued. The ground shook beneath Nairobi as shock waves rippled from the battle above. In a bunker miles underground, a group of engineers huddled around a flickering screen. They were the last of the original team, the ones who'd built the first Star Destroyer in 1962, buried beneath the Gobi Desert. Back then, it was a gamble. A few scientists, funded by a shadowy UN coalition, had reverse-engineered a crashed UFO. They'd found blueprints for weapons far beyond human tech, but instead of using them to attack enemies, they'd waited. For 400 years, humanity had played dumb, hiding its true strength. "You think we'll win?" asked a young technician, her hands trembling. An elderly engineer, his face lined with scars from the Martian terraforming wars, grunted. "Win? Kid, we've already won. We survived the asteroid. We survived each other. This?" He gestured to the screen, where a star destroyer vaporized an alien dreadnought. "This is just cleanup." Above, the battle raged. Fighters darted like fireflies, their railguns firing tungsten slugs at hypersonic speeds. One alien ship tried to retreat, its engines sputtering. A destroyer's weapon hummed, a sound like 1,000 thunderstorms, and the alien vessel folded, crushed by gravity fields. Back on Earth, a journalist in Tokyo filmed the chaos. Her camera caught a mother dragging her child into a bunker, their hands clasped tight. The journalist zoomed in. The mother's necklace glinted, a tiny Star Destroyer pendant, passed down for generations. "This is for the ones who never gave up," the journalist whispered, sending the footage to every network. By sunset, the sky was clear. No alien ships remained. No debris. Just silence. In a secret facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean, a new destroyer's hull was laid. Its name, Endurance. Workers carved symbols into its frame, names of dead ancestors, quotes from ancient wars, warnings to future foes. One welder etched a phrase in rusted steel. "We remember what you did to us." At dawn, Earth's leaders gathered online. They voted unanimously. No peace talks. No mercy. The aliens had attacked the wrong species. Years later, a historian stood before a class of children. "Before the war," she said, "humans thought survival was luck, but the Star Destroyers proved it wasn't. Every extinction taught us something: how to adapt, how to hide, how to wait." One child raised a hand. "What if the aliens come back?" The historian smiled. "They will, and we'll be ready." Outside, the sky parted again. Star Destroyers surged forward. The war had ended, but Earth didn't celebrate. Cities smoldered under gray skies, their ruins crawling with drones that scavenged steel and circuitry. Governments issued calm, mechanical updates. Casualty counts unconfirmed. Reconstruction underway. No parades, no speeches. Humanity had learned victory wasn't a moment. It was a process. In a bunker beneath the Atlantic, Admiral Cale stared at a hologram of the galaxy. His face was a map of scars, each one earned in battles no history book would mention. Beside him, Dr. Lila Chen adjusted her cybernetic eye, scanning star charts. Her voice was flat, tired. "They'll come back. The ones who ran. They'll tell others." Cale nodded. "Let them." He tapped a button. The hologram zoomed out, revealing a fleet of Star Destroyers orbiting Jupiter. Each ship was a monster, armed with weapons that bent gravity and fired asteroids at light speed. "We've been preparing since the Ice Age. You think 400 years hiding our tech was a waste?" "No. It was practice." Lila wasn't convinced. "Practice? For what? A war we didn't know was coming?" "For survival," Kyle snapped. "You think those aliens were the first? The worst? Look at our history. Every time we nearly died, asteroids, ice, fire, we got stronger, smarter, meaner." He paused, his voice softening. "We're not the same species they studied 200 years ago. We're something else now." On Mars, the colony domes buzzed with rumors. A teenager named Jax hacked into the military network, his fingers flying across a keyboard. His screen flickered with classified files. "Project Continuance, Phase 3. He read aloud to his sister, Mira, who sat beside him, her legs dangling over the edge of a hydroponic tank. "Humanity's next step, evolution." "What does that mean?" Mira shrugged. "Probably more cyborgs, more ships, same as always. Jax frowned. No, look here. It says genetic reprogramming. They're changing us. Outside the dome, the red dust swirled like blood in water. In the distance, a star destroyer loomed, its hull scarred from battle. Mira shivered. So what? If it keeps us alive, who cares? Jax didn't answer. He kept reading, his eyes widening. The file mentioned Phase 4, Expansion. Maps of nearby star systems were marked with red dots, planets flagged for terraforming or elimination. They're not just defending us, Jax whispered. They're planning to attack. Back on Earth, a soldier named Ravi stumbled through the ruins of New Delhi. His body was half machine now, legs replaced with titanium alloy, lungs swapped for filters that could breathe ash. He carried a rifle that fired molten metal, but he didn't need it. The city was empty. Just bones and silence. A voice crackled in his earpiece. Ravi, report. He paused, staring at a shattered billboard. A faded photo of a family smiled up at him. Parents, 2 kids, a dog. Gone. Nothing, here, he muttered. Just ghosts. The voice hesitated. Understood. Return to base. As Ravi walked, memories flickered in his mind. His daughter's laugh, the smell of monsoon rain the day the bombs fell. He'd carried her for miles, her tiny hand gripping his shirt, until she stopped breathing. Now, his heart was a machine, part cold and steady. He didn't cry anymore. Couldn't. At the base, scientists in white coats waited. One, a woman named Dr. Rao, approached him. Ravi, we need you for Phase 3. He blinked. What's Phase 3? You. She gestured to his body. We're accelerating evolution, cybernetics, gene therapy, neural links. We're creating soldiers who don't need food, sleep, or oxygen. Soldiers who can fight in space, underwater, anywhere. Ravi stared at her. And if I say no? Dr. Rao's smile was sad. You won't. You know what's coming. The galaxy didn't wait. 6 months after the war, a signal pinged from the edge of Neptune's orbit. A Star Destroyer's AI intercepted it, a distress call in an alien tongue. The message was simple. We surrender. Take us alive, Admiral. Kale watched the prisoners arrive. They were small, squid-like creatures with translucent skin and eyes that glowed blue. They cowered in their cell, chattering in fear. You think we're monsters, Kale said through a translator. The alien leader bobbed in its water tank. You adapt. Too fast. Too much. You should not exist. Kyle leaned closer. Neither, should you? But here we are. Later, Dr. Chen reviewed the aliens' biology. They're fragile, she muttered. Soft bodies, weak bones, no claws, no venom. How did they conquer anyone? A colleague shrugged. They're smart, advanced tech, but they underestimated us. Lila frowned. No, they underestimated Miko. We've been surviving extinction longer than they've existed. Years passed. Project Continuance reshaped humanity. Children were born with gills, able to breathe underwater. Workers on the moon wore no suits, their skin engineered to withstand vacuum. Soldiers like Ravi became legends, half human, half machine, unstoppable, but not everyone agreed with Kale. In Nairobi, a protester named Aisha stood on a rooftop shouting into a megaphone. They're turning us into monsters. We're losing. What makes us human? Crowds cheered, their faces lit by the glow of star destroyers flying overhead. Aisha's brother Tariq listened silently. He'd been chosen for Phase 4, the first human to live in deep space. His body was being rebuilt cell by cell to survive radiation and zero gravity. That night he confronted her. You think I want this? He asked. I don't want to. Leave Earth. But if we stay, we'll die. Again. The sun's dying. Oceans are rising. We have to evolve. Aisha shook her head. At what cost? We're becoming the thing we fought. Tariq didn't answer. He looked up at the stars where the destroyers waited. The final test came in 2125. A fleet of alien refugees arrived, their ships patched and leaking. They begged for shelter, claiming their worlds had been destroyed by a bigger threat, a species that devoured planets leaving only dust. Kyle's council debated. Lila argued for mercy. They're not our enemies. We should help. Kyle refused. Help? With what? We're not charity workers. We're survivors. The refugees were sent away. That night, Lila confronted him. You're making a mistake. We're better than this. Kale's voice was cold. Better? No. We're realistic. This galaxy isn't kind. You think those aliens care about us? They'll use us, then leave us to rot. Lila left, her heart heavy. On Mars, Jax and Mira watched the refugee ships disappear. Jax gripped his sister's hand. We're losing ourselves. We're becoming them. Mira shook her head. No. We're becoming more. We'll find a way to survive without losing who we are. Above them, the sky parted again. Star destroyers surged forward, vanishing into the black. Word count, 998. Expansion to 1,000 words, continued. Back on Earth, Aisha's protests grew. She rallied thousands, their voices echoing through ruined cities. Remember who we are. Governments ignored her, but the message spread. Soldiers began refusing upgrades. Scientists leaked project continuance files to the public. One file showed a secret lab in Antarctica. Humans, children, were kept in tanks, their bodies twisted by experiments. Gills, scales, wings. Aisha's broadcast went viral. This isn't survival. This is madness. Kale watched the footage unmoved. Weakness, he muttered. But Lila disagreed. She gathered allies, scientists, engineers, even soldiers, and formed a splinter group. Their goal, stop Phase 4. The rebellion started quietly. Drones sabotaged destroyer engines. Code erased genetic experiments. Kale's forces hunted them, but Lila stayed ahead, broadcasting truths across the globe. In the end, it was Ravi who decided. The cyborg soldier stood before Kale's war room, his metal eyes glowing. You've lost touch, he said. Survival isn't about winning wars, it's about keeping your soul. Kyle laughed. Souls don't win battles. Ravi raised his rifle. Then you've already lost. The blast tore through Kale's chest as alarms blared. Lila's rebels stormed the base. Project Continuance was shut down, the tanks were emptied. The children were freed. Years later, Earth bloomed again. The destroyers stayed in orbit, silent but ready. Humanity never stopped preparing. But they also rebuilt, not as monsters, but as a species that remembered both its strength and its heart. In Nye, the stars, new colonies rose, not as weapons but as homes. And when aliens came again, they found not a war fleet, but a message. We survived extinction. We've evolved. But we're still human. The sky parted. This time, star destroyers surged forward, not to attack, but to greet. Earth's skies were clear again, but the scars ran deep. Cities rebuilt themselves with robotic arms, stitching steel and glass into jagged ruins. Oceans, once choked by radiation, now teemed with genetically engineered algae to cleanse the poison. Life returned, but the question lingered. What kind of species had humanity become? On Mars, Jax and Mira Chen watched a star destroyer dock at the colony's spaceport. Its hull bore fresh scratches, a reminder of the alien war. Mira adjusted her respirator, her voice muffled. They're still building them, Jax nodded. Of course, peace isn't free. He glanced at his sister. But what's the cost? Their siblings had grown up in the shadow of Project Continuance, their childhoods filled with whispers of genetic experiments and cyborg soldiers. Now, at 18, they faced a choice. Join the new Human Unity Council's adaptation program or risk being left behind in a world that no longer valued the unmodified. Back on Earth, Admiral Kale's death had fractured the old order. The Human Unity Council, a coalition of scientists, soldiers, and activists, ruled from a rebuilt Geneva. Lila Chen, once a reluctant engineer, now led the council's science division. Her office overlooked a courtyard where protesters gathered, daily waving signs account "We are still human," and "We won't stop playing God." Ravi, the half-machine soldier who'd pulled the trigger on Kale, sat across from her. His metal hands tapped the table. "The rebels aren't going away. They say we've lost our soul." Lila sighed. "We survived extinction. That's not losing ourselves, it's evolving." Ravi leaned forward. "You ever wonder if the aliens were right? If we've adapted too much? Too fast?" Before Lila could answer, an alarm blared. A hologram flickered to life. A Star Destroyer's. AI had intercepted a message from deep space. The text glowed red. "Unknown fleet approaching Sol system. Weapons hot." The galaxy had been watching. For decades, rumors of Earth's victory had spread among alien civilizations. Some feared humanity's resilience. Others saw opportunity. The approaching fleet belonged to the Virex, a warlike species that conquered planets by infecting their ecosystems with engineered plagues. Their ships were organic, pulsing with bioluminescent veins. They didn't build weapons. They grew them. Admiral Tariq, Isha's brother and the first fully space-adapted human, stood on the bridge of the Endurance. His skin shimmered with a synthetic exoskeleton that resisted radiation, and his lungs had been replaced with filters that could extract oxygen from vacuum. He addressed his crew, a mix of cyborgs and naturals, humans who'd refused upgrades. Tension crackled like static. "We don't know their intent," Tariq said, "but we won't repeat Kale's mistakes. We're here to talk. If they attack, we defend, understood?" A cyborg pilot scoffed. "They'll attack, they always do." Tariq stared at the screen, where the Virex fleet loomed. "Then we'll show them why survival isn't just about weapons." On Earth, protests turned violent. Aisha's followers stormed a lab in Antarctica, freeing test subjects, children born with gills and webbed fingers. The council debated. Were these children victims or pioneers? "They're people," Lila argued in a heated meeting. "Not tools, not monsters." Dr. Rao, the scientist who designed the adaptation program, countered. "Without them, we die. The sun's expanding. Oceans are rising. We're running out of time." Aisha herself appeared via hologram, her voice sharp. "You're turning us into something we're not. Look at Mars. Half the colony's cyborgs now. What's next? No more babies? Just lab-grown soldiers?" Lila stood silent. She knew Aisha was right, but also wrong. Evolution wasn't a choice. It was a fact. The question was whether humanity could control its own transformation without losing its identity. The Virex struck first. Their ships released clouds of spores that devoured metal, corroding satellites and space stations. Star Destroyers fired dark matter beams, but the Virex adapted, their hulls mutating to resist the attacks. Tariq ordered a retreat to low Earth orbit. The spores followed, raining down on continents. Crops rotted, power grids failed. Panic spread. In Nairobi, Aisha's rebels distributed vaccines engineered by rogue scientists. "This is what happens when you play God," she shouted to her followers. "We're not ready for this fight." Ravi led a squad of cyborg soldiers to Antarctica, where the spores had breached a research vault. Inside, they found a Virex scout, a creature with tentacles and a crystalline core. It hissed in broken English. "Your end is evolution." Ravi's rifle glowed red-hot. "We've heard that before." Lila worked nonstop, her cybernetic eye scanning data streams. The Virex plague was a biological weapon, but it had a weakness: human DNA. The spores couldn't process the genetic complexity of a species that had survived so many extinctions. "We're the cure," she realized aloud. Her team synthesized a counter-agent using samples from unmodified humans, people like Aisha. The vaccine halted the spores' spread, but distributing it required a ceasefire. Tariq took the risk. broadcasting a message to the Virex. We can end this, together. The Virex refused. They'd come to conquer, not negotiate. The final battle raged above Jakarta. Star destroyers clashed with organic warships, their weapons tearing holes in the atmosphere. Ravi led a boarding party onto a Virex flagship, his augmented body shrugging off acid blasts. He reached the command core, a pulsing bioreactor, and injected the vaccine. The ship convulsed, its systems crashing. On Earth, Lila uploaded the counter-agent to every drone and satellite. Within hours, the spores dissolved. The Virex fleet, leaderless and infected, retreated into deep space. The war left humanity divided. The Council voted to dismantle Project Continuance, banning genetic experiments on children. But the adaptation program continued in secret, now focused on voluntary upgrades. Gills for flood zones, heat-resistant skin for deserts, neural links for space travel. Aisha's rebels became politicians pushing laws to protect natural humans. Tariq led a new mission to colonize Europa, his body modified to survive its icy oceans. Ravi vanished, rumored to be training a militia of unmodified soldiers in the Amazon. Jax and Mira Chen stayed on Mars, teaching history. Their students asked the same question every year. Were we right to fight back? Mira always answered, yes, but we have to remember why we fight, not just to survive, but to live. Years later, a new signal pinged from beyond Pluto. This time, the message was different. Greetings, we come in peace. Tariq, now an ambassador, stood before the council. They've heard of our wars, our victories, but they still want to talk. Lila smiled. Let's show them we're more than survivors. We're something new. The Endurance left orbit, its hull adorned with Earth's oldest symbol, a key seedling sprouting from cracked soil. Humanity had survived extinction, war, and itself. Now it would learn to coexist or face the next challenge alone. The sky parted again. Star destroyers surged forward, not as weapons, but as witnesses to a new era. Word count, 998. Expansion to 1,000 words, continued. Back on Earth, Lila stood at Kale's grave, a simple stone in a quiet field. Wildflowers grew around it, their roots breaking through the granite. She placed a single data chip on the ground. Kale's final transmission, recovered from his destroyed war room. It played aloud, his voice gravelly and bitter. We're not meant to last, but we do. That's the curse. Survival isn't peace, it's war with everything, even yourself. She shook her head. You were wrong, Admiral. Survival isn't war, it's balance. As she walked away, a child ran past her laughing. The girl's skin glowed faintly, a side effect of the vaccine that had saved her life. Lila smiled. The future wasn't perfect, but it was alive. On Mars, Jax and Mira watched the Endurance disappear into the stars. Mira held a hologram of their parents who'd died in the spore attacks. Do you think they'd be proud? Jax nodded. They'd be scared, angry even. But yeah, proud. In the distance, a new colony dome rose, its lights twinkling like fireflies. Humans, modified and natural, worked side by side, building a home that could withstand ice, fire, or whatever came next. The galaxy had better remember, Earth's children didn't just survive, they thrived. The galaxy had learned to fear Earth. After the Virex retreat, rumors spread among star-faring civilizations. The humans cannot be killed. Some called them cursed, others abominations. But one truth united every species. The blue-green planet was not to be touched. Yet humanity's greatest threat wasn't waiting in the stars. It was waking beneath their feet. In the Arctic Circle, a drilling team stumbled into a cavern buried under 2 miles of ice. Their lights flickered over walls etched with symbols older than human history. At the center stood a monolith, obsidian black, humming with a low, bone-deep vibration. Before they could report, the drillers vanished. No bodies, no signals, just silence. Months later, seismic sensors across Earth went haywire. The planet's core was shifting, its magnetic field fluctuating wildly. Satellites failed, compasses spun, birds flew in circles until they dropped dead. Then the sky split, when a beam of violet light erupted from the Arctic, piercing the clouds. It pulsed like a heartbeat, and from it descended a creature of molten rock and shadow, a thing that had slept since Earth's birth, buried by tectonic plates and time. The humans called it the Waker. In Geneva, the Human Unity Council argued, as cities burned. "We don't know if it's intelligent," Lila Chen said, her cybernetic eye flashing data streams. "But it's reacting to the Star Destroyers. Every weapon we fire just makes it stronger." Admiral Tariq leaned forward, his space-adapted skin shimmering. "Stronger? How?" "Absorbing energy," Ravi replied. The half-machine soldier stood stiff, his metal hands clenched, like the planet did during the asteroid extinction. Life survived by adapting. This thing, it's doing the same. Aisha, now a council member, slammed her fist on the table. "This is what happens when we play God. We woke it up." "Enough," barked General Okoye, commander of Earth's defense fleets. "We fight. We always fight." Tariq shook his head. "If we lose this war, there won't be a planet left to rebuild." On Mars, Jax and Mira Chen watched the Wakers' descent from their colony dome. The creature had grown, its body now a mountain of magma and ash, stomping across Siberia. Forests ignited in its wake, rivers boiled dry. "They're going to nuke it," Mira whispered. Jax frowned. "Won't work. The Virex spores survived bombs. This thing's worse." Mira's hands trembled as she hacked into Earth's military network. "They're planning a last stand. Star Destroyers are targeting the core. They'll collapse the planet to kill it." Jax froze. "They'd wipe us out too. They think it's the only way." Outside, Martian winds howled. In the distance, a new ship docked at the spaceport. The Endurance returned from Europa. Tariq stepped off its ramp, his gaze locked on the holographic feed of Earth's destruction. "This ends now," he muttered. Back on Earth, Ravi led a squad into the Arctic. Their mission: plant bombs deep enough to bury the Waker again. But as they approached the monolith, the ground cracked open, and the Waker spoke. Not with words, but with a wave of raw thought that shattered minds. "I am the first. You are the last. We will merge." Ravi's neural link overloaded, his machine parts sparking. He collapsed, visions flooding his mind. Earth before humans, when the Waker ruled the molten seas. The ancient wars that forced it to sleep. The asteroids humans survived, which were actually the Waker's attempts to wake. "It's not a monster," Ravi gasped to his team. "It's Earth." The council refused to negotiate. General Okoye gave the order. Star Destroyers opened fire, raining dark matter bombs on the Waker. The creature roared, its body expanding until it dwarfed mountains. The blasts only fed it, its form shifting. Now, sprouting wings of ash, talons of obsidian, eyes like collapsing stars. "It's evolving," Lila realized. "Like us." As cities crumbled, Aisha's rebels stormed the council chambers. "You'll kill us all," she screamed. "Stop the attack." Tariq arrived via hologram, his voice cutting through the chaos. "There's another way." On Mars, Jax and Mira hacked the Endurance. "We're going down," Jax said, overriding the ship's AI. Mira nodded. "We'll die. But if we're right." They dove into Earth's atmosphere, dodging destroyer fire. Below, the Waker reached for the sky, its body now a twisted reflection of humanity's own survival instincts. At the Arctic, Ravi dragged himself to the monolith. His body was failing, metal melting, flesh burning. But he'd seen the truth. The Waker wasn't an enemy. It was the planet's immune system awakened by humanity's tampering. "We're the infection," Ravi whispered. "We have to prove we're not a threat." Using his neural link, he hacked the Star Destroyers' networks, disabling their weapons. "Tariq, tell the council, we merge or die." The Waker loomed over Geneva, its shadow swallowing the sun. Tariq stood on the Endurance's ramp, his genetically altered skin glowing. He stepped forward, arms raised. I am human. I am Earth. I adapt. The Waker paused. Jax and Mira landed, their bodies injected with experimental gene therapy, blend of human and Virex DNA, designed to bond with any ecosystem. They stumbled out, coughing, their skin already shifting to withstand heat. Lila arrived last, carrying a data chip. This is our history, she shouted. Our extinctions. Our fights, our survival. We're not your enemies. We're your children. The Waker's roar shook the sky. Then, silence. The creature knelt, its body sinking into the earth. The monolith cracked, releasing a pulse that healed the land. Rivers refilled, forests regrew, skies cleared. The merger was slow. Over years, humanity changed. Some became symbiotic with the Waker, their bodies merging with the planet's energy. Others remained natural, choosing to live in harmony with the new Earth. The Star Destroyers were repurposed, not as weapons, but as arcs to carry human knowledge to the stars. Isha's rebels faded, their cause replaced by a new question. What comes next? Tariq led the first colony to Proxima Centauri, carrying seeds of the reborn Earth. Jax and Mira taught history in floating cities where humans swam with bioluminescent whales. Ravi, his body half-molten, became a legend, a bridge between man and planet. Lila watched it all from orbit, her cybernetic eye scanning the stars. The galaxy still feared Earth, but now they also respected it. Humanity hadn't just survived extinction, they'd become something eternal. Word count, 998. Expansion to 1,000 words, continued. Decades later, a child on Europa asked Tariq, "Were we right to change?" He smiled, pointing to the sky. A Star Destroyer glided overhead, its hull blooming with algae gardens. Survival isn't about right or wrong. It's about lasting long enough to ask the question. On Earth, the Waker slept again, its dreams shaping mountains and oceans. Humans walked its surface, some with gills, others with roots for feet, all singing songs older than memory. And in the void, the Endurance sailed toward a distant star, its hull engraved with a single phrase. We remember what you did to us. The sky parted again. Star Destroyers surged forward, not to war, but to welcome the universe to a new era. Earth breathed again, the scars of war, the cracks from the Waker's awakening, the poison of the Virex spores, all were gone. Rivers ran clear, forests stretched across continents like green veins, and the sky turned a deep, unbroken blue. The planet had healed, but not alone. Humanity had changed with it. In the floating city of New Pacifica, a child named Kale swam with bioluminescent whales, his gills fluttering as he dived deeper than any human could before. His skin shimmered with a faint glow, a trait inherited from the Waker's energy, a bond between man and Earth. Above, in the Arctic, a woman named Ravi walked barefoot across tundra that once lay frozen for millennia. Her feet left no prints. Her body, half-molten stone, merged with the soil when she paused to rest. She was no longer soldier, no longer machine. She was something new. On Mars, Jax and Mira Chen taught history in a dome where trees grew upside down, their roots clinging to the ceiling. Students asked the same question every year. Were we right to survive? Mira always answered, survival isn't right or wrong. It just is. The question is what you do after. What humanity did after was look to the stars. The galaxy had been watching. For decades, Earth's wars had terrified alien civilizations. Now, rumors spread of a species that had fused with its planet, becoming neither human nor beast, but both. Some called them the symbiotes, others, the new gods. The Human Unity Council, now led by Lila Chen, sent a message to every star system. We come in peace. We remember what you did to us. We offer you a choice. Learn or be left behind. Most species ignored the warning, Fear outweighed curiosity, but one civilization answered. The Zarn were a dying people. Their sun was fading, their oceans acidified, their cities crumbling. They begged for help. The council debated. Aisha's rebels, now diplomats, argued for mercy. Tariq, leading the Star Destroyer Endurance, volunteered to go himself. They tried to kill us once, Lila warned. Tariq smiled. So did we. That's how survival works. You learn. The Endurance arrived at Zarn Prime, a planet of red deserts and cracked seas. Its people were tall, insectoid, with voices like wind through hollow bones. Their leader, Vextal, met Tariq on a plateau scorched by solar storms. You survived extinction, Vextal hissed. We did not. Help us. Tariq held up a vial of Earth's algae, engineered to cleanse poison and grow food in barren soil. This isn't a gift, it's a test. You share it. You protect your planet, or it dies with you. The Zarn hesitated. For centuries, they'd ruled through conquest, draining worlds dry. Now they faced extinction, and a choice. Vextal took the vial. We will try. Back on Earth, the Waker stirred. It was no longer a monster, but a guardian, a force woven into the planet's crust, oceans, and air. Lila visited the Arctic monolith, now glowing softly, its symbols shifting like liquid. She placed her hand on it, and the Waker spoke in her mind. Balance. That was the pact. Humanity could adapt, evolve, even leave the planet, but only if they protected what remained. The Star Destroyers were repurposed not as weapons but as arcs carrying seeds of Earth's life to other worlds. Jax and Mira's students grew algae gardens in Martian soil. Ravi's body became a living monument, his molten veins connecting to the Earth's magnetic field, warning of solar storms before they struck. But not everyone embraced the change. Aisha's rebels splintered. Some feared humanity had lost its soul. Others saw the symbiotes as a threat to their way of life. In the Amazon, a group called the Naturals built underground cities, refusing to merge with the Waker's energy. They called the new humans abominations. Lila tried to reason with them. We're still human, we're just more. A natural leader spat. More. You're not even people anymore. You're a disease. The conflict simmered for years, but it was Ravi who ended it. He walked into the Natural's largest city, his molten body radiating heat. He said nothing. He simply knelt and pressed his hand to the ground. The Earth responded, sending roots through the tunnels, knitting the soil into walls that shielded the Naturals from radiation. You don't have to change, he said, but you can't stop the rest of us from surviving. The Naturals agreed. To peace. They stayed human. The symbiotes kept evolving. Time passed. The Zarn thrived. With Earth's algae, they cleaned their oceans and stabilized their sun. Vextal sent a message to Lila. We are alive because of you. What comes next? Lila replied. You'll find your own way. But remember, survival isn't about winning. It's about learning. Tariq led a fleet of Star Destroyers to Proxima Centauri, carrying humans who wished to colonize new worlds. Kyle, the boy with gills, joined him, eager to swim in alien seas. Jax and Mira stayed on Mars, raising children who would never know Earth's wars, only its rebirth. On the Endurance, Tariq stood before a window, staring at the stars. A young officer asked him, Do you think we'll ever stop fighting? He shook his head. No, but we'll learn. We'll adapt and we'll survive. Earth's story was no longer just about survival. It was about legacy. The Waker slept beneath the Arctic, its dreams shaping mountains and rivers. The Naturals lived in peace, untouched by the symbiote's evolution. The galaxy watched, wary, but curious, and humanity? They were everywhere, in the oceans, swimming with whales, on Mars, growing forests under red skies, in the stars, building homes on dead planets. They were not perfect. They were not gods. They were human. They had survived extinction, war, and themselves, and they would keep going. Forever. Word count, 998. Expansion to 1,000 words, continued. A century later, a child on Europa asked her teacher, "Why did they fight so much?" The teacher, a symbiote with skin like coral, smiled. "Because survival isn't easy. It takes work, pain, but it also takes hope." Outside, the Endurance orbited, its hull blooming with algae gardens. On Earth, the Waker's monolith pulsed gently, a heartbeat echoing through the planet's core, and in the void, a new signal pinged. "Greetings, we come in peace." The reply was swift. "We remember what you did to us, but we offer you a choice: learn or be left behind." The sky parted again. Star destroyers surged forward, not as weapons but as messengers of a species that had learned to survive forever.